Hey everyone, back with you. Just wanted to do a short video on this Syria issue because I'm getting lots of comments and things like that, and I'm seeing a lot of things going on with the Syria situation. Some people are not really sure, what's going on, and I guess people wondering why I have not done a video to comment on the situation, the things that are happening around the Syria situation with the chemical attack. With our response to it or anything like that. And there's a good reason why I have not done anything on Syria, and the simple reason is I don't know what to make of it at this point. I don't want to do a video and give an analysis of something that's going on unless I understand the facts of the situation and I can offer something to the conversation that's based on some sort of facts. I mean, all I can do is sit here and speculate like a million other YouTubers are doing. Everybody's speculating what happened, what didn't happen, is it this, is it that? We don't know. So, I mean, I'm sitting back watching it like everyone else until all the facts come out. All we can do is speculate, and I just don't want to get into a lot of speculation on things unless if I'm speculating, I'll come out and tell you that I don't have the facts and that I'm just speculating. But I will do a little bit of speculation here, or at least I'll explain why I have an issue and why I'm not able to feel comfortable trying to tell you that I know exactly what's going on. And there's a lot of people on YouTube that like to come out and let you believe that they've got some sort of crystal ball, that they have some sort of deep inside intel, and that they know everything that's going on and they've got it all figured out. I just don't like that. And I just would rather be honest and say I really don't know what's going on. I'm perplexed about two things that really keep me from being able to make any type of an analysis of what's going on. And it's two facts that are stubborn facts that are somewhat in dispute and are not really clear. And those two things that are troubling me on this issue, and the reason why I haven't really commented on it, is that we have really two things that are kind of troubling to me. Number one, we have Bashar al-Assad being accused of using sarin gas on these civilians, killing or whatever approximately 84 people. Well, back in 2013 he was also accused of using some sort of chemical weapon, and after the investigation was done, they found out that it was most likely, almost certainly, not Assad who was behind it, but rather the rebels, who were basically the CIA-backed rebels, friends of John McCain. Those are the people who most certainly used those chemical weapons, and not Assad. Okay, so we know that that's what happened in 2013. So fast forward to now. Here you have Assad, who's got the battle 80% of the way won. He's got the Russians with bringing in air support. He's got the Iranians helping him on the ground. He's made major progress. He's pushed the Al-Qaeda and ISIS fighters into Raqqa, to their last stronghold, and they are slowly being melted away. He's winning. He was going to be going to the UN to discuss what's going to happen after this thing is cleaned up, because it's close to being cleaned up. And then I guess they're going to talk about having elections and things like this. He's also now has a president here in the United States that's not calling for regime change. A president who openly has stated, no, I'm not trying to get Assad out of there. I'm trying to get the terrorist out. And once we get the terrorist out, then we'll get together with the Russians and the UN and Assad, who's already agreed in principle to stand for elections or to step aside and allow the Syrian people to decide the fate of their country by having elections. But you have to get the terrorists cleaned out first. So Bashar al-Assad is was no longer under threat of regime change. He's winning the war. He has absolutely nothing whatsoever to gain by launching this chemical attack. Nothing. He has everything to lose. So why did he do it? Why did he do it? It doesn't make any sense. And until I understand more about that, I can't really comment on it. Now, on the other hand, we have General Mattis, or now Secretary Mattis, who I think is a good man, an honest man, a smart man. I don't think he's part of the deep state. I don't think he's manipulating intelligence to try to get the president to do something for a regime change. I don't believe any of that. I hear a lot of it. But until General Mattis gives me reason to suspect that, I'm not going to suspect that. I'm going to go with what my gut tells me, which is that Mattis is a straight shooter. And he gave a press conference. And in that press conference, he said, we are 100% certain that the Syrian military carried out the attack, and it was ordered by Bashar al-Assad. So here's what we have. We have Assad being accused of doing something that makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. And then we have Mattis saying they have absolute proof that he did. These two things do not wash. Something's got to give here. So how can I make an intelligent analysis of the situation when I have these two major outstanding conditions, which are not, I haven't seen the intelligence. I don't know if Assad did it or not. I don't know if Mattis's intelligence was legit. I don't know any of these things. So I can't make an intelligent, informed analysis of the situation when I have these two outstanding things that are, neither of them, as far as I'm concerned, are 100% proven. I have a tendency to side more with Mattis than I do with Assad, but even if regardless of what I think about Assad, regardless of who it was or what position you're looking at it from, it just simply don't make any sense for him to have done that. But then again, Mattis is saying he did, and he's got proof that he did. They haven't shown us that proof, and we probably will never see that proof. It's secret intelligence that they're not going to show us or tell us. We just have to kind of take their word. So until there is some sort of an investigation done, assuming there can even be an investigation at this point by an independent third party, assuming there's a such thing in this world as an independent third party, until I know more, and I don't think we're ever going to get to the bottom of learning this, but until I actually know more and we have some conclusive evidence that I can actually see or believe as to whether or not Assad was really behind it, or as to whether or not the intelligence that Mattis is referring to is actually legitimate, until I have more proof of one of these two things being true or false, it's speculation. You cannot make an informed analysis of the situation until these two things are fleshed out. So this is why I have not really commented on the Syrian thing. I will say one thing though. There's a lot of people kind of jumping off the Trump train. I wouldn't say a lot of people, but there's a healthy number of people who I've read their online comments who believe that Trump has betrayed them. They're off the Trump train and all these types of things. And the only thing I would say to that is, look, if you trust Donald Trump, if you support Donald Trump, if you voted for Donald Trump, then stand by the man until he gives you some reason not to. And this limited airstrike in response to this sarin gas attack is not a reason to jump off the Trump train. If you're Donald Trump and they call you into the back room and they show you this intelligence, you have to do something. If you do nothing, you could be politically assassinated for being weak, ineffective, unresponsive, playing on the wrong team, whatever. It could be used against you for not doing some sort of action. Now, I think Donald Trump took the right measures. If I had seen intelligence, which I believed showed exactly what he says, which is that Assad was responsible, then I think you have to have some sort of a response. And the response wasn't to launch a full-scale military invasion. It wasn't to declare now that Assad must go and you're going to do the regime change, you're going to do the no-fly zone. He's not suggesting any of that. The situation, as he has said, is to continue to get the terrorists out of Syria, to have elections and let the people decide who they want for their leader. But in the meantime, the response to the sarin gas attack, Trump felt that he had to act. Now, he didn't go kill a bunch of Syrians. He contacted the Russians and gave them plenty of time to get their people out of there, so there wasn't any Russians killed or anything like that. It was a limited response, a real specific targeted response to an airstrip. They blew up 20 planes, put a couple holes in the runway, blew up a communications tower. Okay, so that was a fairly limited response, and I don't think you can jump off the Trump train because of that. But even if you totally disagree with that, I look at the Trump train as a train, and on that train we have, the Syria situation. We have the situation with North Korea. We have the China situation. We have the Russia situation. These are all different trains. Then we have the domestic stuff, tax cuts. We have immigration. We have the Supreme Court nominee. We have all these other domestic issues, which are also cars on the Trump train. And Donald Trump, at this point, if you like what he's doing with immigration, if you like where he's going with his plan for tax cuts, if you like his Supreme Court nominee, if you like what he's doing on his domestic agenda, then how can you completely jump off the train just because you disagree with his response to this sarin gas attack in Syria, regardless of whether you agree with it or not? So you can't totally jump off the train because of this one incident when we have to take a look at the totality of what's happening, and he's doing so good on all these other things that to totally jump off the train because you disagree with his response to the sarin gas attack is just, I think it's it's not what I'm doing. Okay, if that's what you want to do, if you want to jump off the Trump train because of this, while all the other things he's doing that you may agree with, and say, well, I agree with 90% of what he's doing, but this 10% or 5% or whatever, I'm throwing him completely I'm jumping off the train because of this one thing he did. Look, every president, regardless of who he is going to do some things that you may not like. You're never going to find a president that can satisfy 250 million people in this country, or the people that voted for him, on every single thing he does. If you want to find a problem with him, you're always going to find some point of disagreement with every president. No one's going to, how can Trump please every single person in his base? It's impossible. So give the guy a break, man. Come on. Don't jump off the train. What are you going to do? Jump on the Hillary train? If Hillary was president, we'd already be in a direct confrontation with Russia because she would have tried to push a no-fly zone. She would have 500,000 troops in Syria trying to do an overthrow. She said openly that she would bomb Iran. So, think what we could have had. As much as you may not, for those of you who do not like that he struck this airbase, just think about what the alternative could have been. It would have been much, much, much worse. Who do you think Hillary would have nominated for the Supreme Court? What do you think Hillary would have done about the open borders? What do you think Hillary would be doing in terms of taxes? What do you think Hillary would be pushing for as a measure to repair Obamacare, which is a freaking disaster? She'd be going for single payer, or she'd be going for even more government program, bigger government program. So believe me, Hillary would have been much, much, much worse. So I just urge those of you who are kind of jumping off the Trump train to rethink your position. I remember when Ronald Reagan was president, and everybody was loving Ronald Reagan, and then our 241 Marines got blown up in Lebanon. Reagan came out and admitted that was a mistake. He never should have put him there. He fired the general, or I believe it was a colonel that he fired, who was in charge of that particular site, because he didn't provide the necessary security, which led to the 241 Marines being blown up by the truck bomber. And a lot of people kind of jumped off the Reagan train, I guess you would say, back then. Look, he made a mistake. Trump's going to make mistakes. If you or I were in that position, you would make mistakes. Let's face it, sometimes as President of the United States, you make a lot of tough decisions, a lot of big decisions, important decisions. Sometimes you have no good choice. Sometimes you have 3 or 4 choices, and every one of them are bad. So you do the best you can, you make the best call you can make. So it comes down to either you trust Trump's judgment or you don't. So, it's easy to sit back and be a armchair quarterback and to second guess and all this stuff, but it wasn't you sitting there in that room looking at that intelligence. It's not your ass that's on the line if you make the wrong call. Okay? So for those of you who are, really giving Trump a tough time, I respect the fact that you may not like what he did with the airstrike, but it's not regime change. It's not, going against what he said he was going to do in the campaign. He's not trying to get involved in another Middle Eastern war. He's calling it as he sees it. He's being flexible in what he does, but he's not flip-flopping. He's not starting World War III. This is just crazy talk. And I have more to say about that in another video, which I'm going to do right now. So anyway, that's my thoughts on the Syrian situation, why I have not commented on it, and why I think we just need to everybody sit back, relax, take a deep breath, allow this thing to play itself out, and find out what happened. Hopefully we'll get more to the bottom of it, and then at that point we can sit back and we can all offer our analysis of the situation. But right now now's not that time. The time now is to sit back, let it play itself out, and let's see where we go from here. Okay? You guys have a good one. Goodbye.